Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another weekly update for Battle Spirit Saga. And we have a lot to talk about and some super exciting stuff. The biggest one, obviously, going to be the spoilers if you're clicking this for the thumbnail. But there are a couple things to kind of get out of the way because they are pretty important. But I know most people are just like, hey, we want cards, we want to build decks, we want to play. And we will certainly get into that moment. But a couple quick things I do want to reference or bring up as just a way of saying thanks. And I know if you're on Twitter or YouTube, you've already kind of seen some of this news, but Bandai did bless us with an official spoiler, so thank you, Bandai, for the Prince Penton, and this is just everything that we'd want out of the 2-cost theme that we're going to have from the Forbidden Magic starter deck, so that's really hype, but we need to see a lot more of the yellow deck to really understand what kind of value it's going to be able to generate for us, and if it's one of those, are we going to splash multiple colors for a 2-cost theme, or is this something that yellow is really going to ramp up and maybe have a card that changes all of our, let's say, 4 or less into counting as 2 costs to be able to get the similar effect, right? So there's a couple different ways they could do it, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. Beyond that, and this is one I think that unless you have spent time in the anime card game or Japanese trading card game space, like with Bushy, with Force of Will, with the other companies, it might be really difficult to just sincerely appreciate how massive this news is. This is now a global organized Discord for judges and for organized play, which is quite literally something we could have only dreamed of back in the Dragoborn and Future Card Buddy Fight days. And as someone who, again, I was a head judge for Force of Will. I've fought for players. I've fought for judges. I've had a lot of late night, meetings and early morning phone calls about trying to get more support or trying to get a better judge program to have judge tests more available. Let's not do it just at GPs like the morning before the event, right? Like so much stuff that I remember the years that I fought for this stuff, and it's so nice to see Bandai finally coming through, or just anyone, right? But Bandai's the one doing it, but finally see someone come through to give this the amount of love and respect that it deserves, because judge programs and organized play are important. Yes, at the local level, it is what keeps games alive and why people always say Commander is such a popular format and helps push sales and all that good stuff. But again, this is a space I've really focused on, in my time of all the games that I've covered. So honestly, I teared up a little. Like this really is massive news. And again, I realize this will likely fall flat if you haven't been on more like the TO or judge side, but I promise you, your friends who are judging for other games, especially if they've judged other JTCGs or anime card games over the years, this is massive. And I'm just very happy for Bandai. And again, the disclaimer I'll plug here is like, I am not a Bandai super fan or anything. Like I came into Battle Spirit Saga with the August announcement. I've done stuff for Force Will, I've done stuff for Bushy Road, I've done stuff for Flesh and Blood, at least on the local level. Like I've done a lot of stuff for organizing or hosting events for various card games, and the one area that was always lacking was games that came out of Japan or otherwise. So it's like it's insane to finally see this come through, which should have been done years ago. So I realize I'm kind of rambling and at kind of a loss for words here, but this is great, and I hope that people will appreciate it and see like everything that this will bring to us in 2023, because it's just such a big deal for bringing all the Bandai games together and giving them the official support that they deserve. Like, and honestly, Bushy Road could never. Like, that's just as someone who's fought that fight for years as well. Again, Dragoborn, Luck and Logic, Buddy Fight, I could go on. It's so good to finally see this happen. So big kudos. Please, if you are a judge or some judge friends of yours, tell them about this announcement, help get them set up with the Discord, because this is going to be one of our most important tools in 2023. And then the next thing, the probably thing you more care about, is spoilers. Yay, finally. So before I get into like the next couple things I have, I want to just bring this up. So on the website, you might have noticed that the Bandai TCG, and this is the site we've talked about multiple times in either the video in the Discord or elsewhere, it finally got a massive facelift. And honestly, this was one of my biggest things. When I came into Bandai over the summer, and when I was playing Digimon for like 2 months, then the Battle Spirit Saga announcement landed, the old app was awful. Like, it was usable. TOs hated it, players hated it, but it was usable. And obviously, there was the stuff at Gen Con where it broke, and it remains to be seen how the TO side of this has been updated, since it's, there's nothing I can go to test it against until next month. But the overall interface and like how easy it is to use, and the search actually working, and the store events looking a lot better, like this is really a night and day difference. And the fact that there's already stuff in here and you can see the details, like they clearly have done a really good job at bringing this all together. So if you want to see the full spoilers, please go check out the website. It's also available on your Apple or Android device. That's like BTCG Plus, I think, in the app stores. But if you put Bandai TCG, I'm sure it'll come up. And it'll have all this information for you. And the deck builder actually works. Like that's a big deal for me. If you just want to like browse through cards and build a deck, that is also working now, finally. So I know that this kind of feels like, hey, it's the bare minimum was finally achieved. But I really do think Bandai kind of one-upped it from kind of what we expected, the old app just to get a couple updates and be fine, to now it's able to actually, you know, stores are able to see more information. That's brighter. The interface works. You can actually, you know, properly build a deck. Like, it's just so much better. It really is a night and day difference. And again, all these filters work too. So it's like you want keywords, you can just drop down, hit search. It's going to update. It's fast. It's responsive. And I've already seen some like negative comments about it. And like, yeah, I get it. Like some of it the UI could be a little bit more intuitive. It does need like another usability audit, you know, attached to it. But it's significantly better than what we had. And like, if you're just hating on it to hate it on it, I guess you're just a little hater and move on. But this is a pretty massive update. Like this is really good to see. Now, again, at the time of the recording this, the TO side of it, or like your weekly events, remains to be seen. So hopefully that's still good, because that was like one of the major issues that I had with it. But from a player perspective, this is good now. Like it's not just passable, it's actually good. And I've obviously only clicked around like the Battle Spirit Saga side, and this might be cut off. Oh, no, it does load it. So you can see all their games in one place. So just, again, another thing where it's like, it's so good that Bandai is bringing all these games together. And they're like, what, $1 billion, like massive company, right? They have like 12 card games or 14 card games in Japan, whatever it is. So we have just like a very small baby footprint of card games by comparison. But the fact that they're bringing this all together in one home, because we should all be celebrating card games together, right? It's not One Piece versus Dragon Ball versus Digimon versus Battle Spirit Saga, right? We are all playing card games. We all like our different card games. And, you know, the one thing I really like to always bring about Bandai, like it's cheap enough where other than Dragon Ball Super, because I don't know what those prices are off the top of my head, you can spend like $50 to $100, just drop in a Digimon, drop in a One Piece, drop in a Battle Spirit Saga, get a competitive deck, decide if it's for you or not. And then if you don't like it, I mean, just sell it to a local or something. Or if it's like my Shoutmon deck, I just gave it away because it was like $40 after the ban. It needed the ban, but whatever. So, you know, there's always going to be a reasonable entry point compared to other card games, right? Like Magic, Flesh and Blood, Vanguard even is insane right now. Like card games are a luxury hobby, to be fair. But one thing that I've always kind of talked about, especially if you could go to my videos all the way back in the Force Will days, right? Like I always wanted the entry point to be affordable for a lot of people, where coming from Magic, it's like, you know, $300. My Flesh and Blood deck, the Runeblade side, was $900. And it's really hard to feel good about promoting those games and, you know, boosting them up at a local level when I then have to tell players, oh, by the way, this Tunic that you want, it's $200. All these fetch lands that you want, it's $300. Like, yes, you can use those for other pieces, but you're still asking players to make a very significant investment up front. And if you have a good job, you can afford all that stuff, great, but that's not the reality for everyone. So I truly love how Bandai has been doing, and they're not perfect, obviously, Death X-Mon, I'll just call that out. But Bandai has truly done a great job since Dragon Ball Super to have a entry point that is accessible to players. So I'm really excited for this. Obviously, the X-Rares that we're going to get, which again are going to be the super rare equivalent in terms of ratios, or like 99.9% confirmed. Obviously, we haven't seen any pack openings or anything, so I can't guarantee it, but the rarity distribution from the like product list and everything matches up that the X-Rares are super rares. And once product is widely available, because right now it's not in One Piece, and that's why we see some of those prices, you know, your super rares generally top out at $10 a piece, and that's not bad. And most of them honestly go as low as like $2 if it's not like the top of the top meta decks, which is really great to see. So again, please go check it out. There's a bunch of updates, and we have, I think it was 34 total, now I forget. 36 total cards now between the lore video spoilers we got, the starter deck spoilers we got, and now last night, the 24 new red spoilers that we all got. But tons of great information in here. Please make sure to go read each one of them. But just for the sake of the video not being extremely long, because I'll probably do like a red set review later when we get more cards, we have more knowledge of it. But let's just talk about the two main themes that we got, which is Terrasaur and Emperor Beast spirits and Star Dragon spirits. So one thing that Battle Spirits does, and you will either love it or hate it, depending on where you want to see from a deck building standpoint, is it does build around these key families like Terrasaur, like Star Dragon, that it's a lot like One Piece right now, right? Where you think Straw Hats, you think Supernovas. I believe Dragon Ball had this very early on. I only played set 1 for Dragon Ball, and that was, 7 years ago now, or I don't remember how long, so it's a little lost on me. But what's nice then, too, is that these all play into a certain theme. So it's not like you're playing a family that does 10 different things. It's like, oh, I want to play an aggro deck. Okay, Terrasaur looks very, very good. Oh, I want to play more of like a mid-range with this really cool, flashy finish at the end. Okay, well, then you can have Star Dragons, and they have this Nova at the top end, which can then also heal you and remove some more things. Now, keep in mind, one of the key themes that you're going to see in red is going to be things like Confront, which reminder as you attack, your opponent has to block it. You're going to see BP-based or battle power-based removal on some of these cards. And then, of course, draw power, which we've seen in the demo decks and will be in the starter deck, I believe it was, long-term, that you got to have ways to refill your hands. And one of the things with Battle Spirits is usually they have a couple different searchers, like we've seen for like Nami in One Piece, or the various tons of cards that obviously Digimon has as well, that helps build into some of those families. So up first, we have Jurassic King Gigano Rex. Whew, again, these names. So it is an 8 cost, which might be a little expensive, but you'll notice it has a reduction of 6. So it's important here again that a key theme about Battle Spirits and what makes it so different is that this reduction element really comes into play on how you progress your battle plan, how you put spirits on the field. Do you take them to level 2? Do you leave them at level 1 so you can set up a little bit of a go wide for the next turn? Or maybe you want to get 3 attacks in, leave 2 blockers back. It really is the most interesting part of the game, and it's one of those concepts that are super easy to grasp once you like sit down and talk about it for a couple minutes. But once you see how it actually starts to play out and kind of the back and forth that's involved, especially now that we're seeing a lot of the key removal available in red, it's really interesting to see how this dynamic is going to play out, and if you are going to have enough of that cost reduction to play Rex from your hand. So the 6 cost is really important because of his static effect that we see. So when summoning the spirit from your hand, you may count each symbol on your Terrasaur or Emperor Beast spirits on the field as 2 symbols when calculating cost reduction. So to have his full reduction, in theory, you would only need 3 spirits on the field that are Terrasaur or Emperor Beast spirits. And the other thing is, take your term of boss monster or key spirit, as it's called in Burning Soul. Most of the time, you will have some big payoff like Jurassic King Gigano Rex in your deck. So keep that in mind as you're like looking over the spoilers and seeing how some of these different cards come together. Now, there will, of course, be completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like completely family agnostic, right? Where it's just like a bunch of different cards come together, but they're all 2 cost, right? Where it's like, okay, I want a 2 cost in every color because it plays with that one Penton card really well. Even though I'm not getting the max value out of my cost reduction, they're cheap enough and they replace themselves. So I now have like a 5 color, 2 cost rush deck. And that could very well be a thing that we see later on. But at least from what we're seeing so far in these red spoilers, I think it's going to really set the tone for the other cards that we're going to get. And then really just building in that theme again, right? If you only have Terrasaur and Emperor Beast spirits on your field, treat this as level 3. So this is interesting because not only do you get to cheat it, I don't want to say cheat it out, but like reduce its costs by a lot, right? To drop it down to maybe only costing 2. It's now going to be counting as a level 3, which is a 10,000 power unit. That's big. Like I think 12, like Nova here on the right is the top that we've seen, but like that other threshold where I expect most cards to be now is going to be 10K. So he's right there at that, I have big battle power, and again, it's red. You're going to have ways to boost it. We have the double draw, which can just give it 3,000 BP if you need to, or just other cards that will likely boost your field like we've seen in white. So level 2 and level 3, while the spirit attacks confront, so again, must block, and then all your spirits gain 3,000 BP. So that is his level 3, so he's going to actually go up to 13. Now, there might be some windows where like if you don't attack with him first and your opponent has some kind of removal for it, where it's like I think it's called poison shot or deadly shot from purple. If you only have 1 core on him and then purple shoots the core off, sorry, he's dead, right? So you do have to be careful about that. There are going to be, of course, counterplays to it, but he will go up to 13K, which again, I don't think there's anything in the, pre other than like a burst or something, right, in terms of how you're going to interact with it. But 13K is big. So he's going to be able to boost your entire field. So this really does kind of line up very well that says, hey, we want to have a go wide red strategy that's also boosting all your spirits, and they most likely have confront. and he is big. Then also Supernova Dragon Sigworm Nova. This is something we've seen before. It's been in other videos, but long story short, you have to have a very specific condition that you meet, banish your Soul Core, which means you do not get it back. It is just gone for the rest of the game to depower your deck then, but you're going to heal up and have, when the spirit attacks, select any number of your opponent's spirits with a combined total of 10k or fewer BP and destroy them. If you're going up against a similar go-wide strategy deck and they're all only level 1, or again, if you're playing this sort of red versus red deck, right? Jurassic King's ability is only when he is attacking. So if you have hit a bunch of your other spirits at level 1, you're probably killing 3 or 4 things with Supernova's effect. So you're going to be able to quickly sweep their board. And yes, you still have to, end the game and attack out, but it's going to be able to put you in a much better position coming back from them. So again, Jurassic King's probably going to be a more aggro strategy, where Supernova is more of your mid-range. And I didn't want to get too much into it, but I did want to just highlight some cards here from both Star Dragon and the other Terrasaur and Emperor Beast, just to talk about like what they're doing at a high level. So again, we did mention that red is going to be a lot of destruction effects. There's going to be draws effects you get in double draw or otherwise. But we really do start to see a separation here in just the different strategies what they want to do. So Nebula Dragon Andromeda, this is from the starter deck technically. So this is a older spoiler, but it is a Star Dragon, and it does have a removal on play and confront. So this is one of those things that early on I expect removal to be at an absolute premium. So this card I'm sure is going to be a 4 of in a lot of red decks. Maybe it's a 3 because it's a 6 cost, and you have to have other spirits in the field first to get them like max value, yada, yada, yada. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 4 cost. But then what was really interesting, and this kind of builds into that Star Dragon theme, is Galaxy Dragon Andromedos. That's how I believe we pronounce that. I love these names. It's always going to trip me up, and I apologize. I'm probably going to butcher some of them in the future. But this is great because when you summon a Star Dragon Spirit card, count each symbol on this spirit as 2 when calculating cost reduction. So this is a great enabler for 2 different things. The first effect is going to help make the rest of them cheaper, right? So he's a double spirit reduction or double symbol reduction for your spirits. And then when he attacks, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 Dragon Spirit card revealed from your hand, return the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is interesting because yes, you have to attack, which is going to leave you, a bit open in terms of defense, but it will be a 4K or 6K, which is pretty good from what we've seen from early spoilers, and it is hopefully going to replace itself. So this is one of those interesting things where, like, you attack with this once, you reveal a Star Dragon, you're feeling pretty good, right? It replaced itself. You probably got to trade evenly with one of their spirits maybe, or you just got to chip away a life because they want to ramp up. All around, this does everything that you want it to be doing in the Star Dragon family. And just the more times that you attack with this, the more value that you're going to get. Because again, in Battle Spirits, because, well, both the namesake and how important they are, you will be playing a lot of spirits. So this card flipping 3 and being able to take one of them, you're going to hit most of the time, right? Obviously, you have to build a good deck around it. You have to build in that theme, but this card feels like a powerhouse. And then the last one is where stars are born. So this is a 3-cost Nexus, which is great, means you just play it on 1, but hold on, you need to read the rest because you don't actually want to play this early. So one of the things that we've talked about in a previous video is that Nexus cards are generally something very good to play early if they give you like a nice static effect, because there's not as much interaction against Nexus cards, right? We've seen the white, I think it was a white magic card that can bounce it. We see Andromeda that can destroy it, but it's going to be pretty limited, and that's then a cost reduction that you get that just sits in the field and gets you value. However, this one is interesting because I was like, at first, like, oh, it's a 3-cost, great. But reveal 1 card from the top of your deck for each Star Dragon Spirit you control, and you can add 1 red spear for each one you have, and then the rest go on the bottom. So this is just another way where you want to be playing Star Dragons onto the field, drop this Nexus, which, again, it's going to replace itself just from a 1-1 card value, probably getting more than that. But then also, during your attack step, when one of your spirits that costs 4 or more attacks, select one of your opponent's spirits with 1,000 or fewer BP and destroy it. So this is an interesting one because it's like 2K seems to be the threshold for a lot of stuff. Not exactly 1K, but there's probably going to be like a 1-drop vanilla that they're playing that's 1K that still kills it. I love this level 2 effect. This is one of those things, again, goes back to, I love how these are effectively, if this was any other card game, right, these would basically be 2 different cards. The level 1 effect, or the first effect, I should say, and the second effect would be split. But in Battle Spirits, because you always have the option to power up your cards, right, placing more cores on them, you can get some of these more interesting additional effects that, some turns you just won't need it. So that's 2 cores you can free up. So I love this type of design and focus on the cards because, again, you're already playing playing it for the first effect, and anything else is just value, where, you know, in some games, this might be like a sideboard card, right? Where it's like, oh, my opponent is playing a go wide rush strategy. I need the 1K destruction. Oh, I guess I'll put it in. No, Battle Spirits, that's just in your main deck. You have options. And this is like a pretty light in terms of options, because the level 1, the first effect is always good, but this is the kind of stuff that gets me excited for Battle Spirits. Like, I love to see this kind of stuff. So Star Dragons, again, are going to be more of like slightly slower, more mid-rangey builds, good removal, good replacement within them, but I feel like we're still missing a card or two, so really looking forward to seeing where the rest of the red spoilers land at. And then the other one is Emperor Beast and Terrasaur. So the interesting point here is there's like two kind of different themes within this, but I feel like they're all going to go into Rex, and then it just comes back to like, which side do you want to focus on? So Dilophosa is really interesting because it's a 3 cost of 2 reduction, but it is a 4K power at level 1. If you just love red aggro stuff and want to turn cards sideways, 4K is strong. Like, we've already seen that gets over landmine, which like checks 1, good, done. Like, and then it goes up to 8K for 3 cores. Like, this dude is a unit. Now, again, there is a downside. It can't block. So it is one of those, like, you have to keep swinging out sort of things, because it's not going to ever be a block and die sort of thing. And that's kind of like the give and take. But for your aggressive strategies, if you just want like a red, good aggro deck, right, Emperor Beast and Terrasaurs are going to get you there. The other interesting side of that, right, is it's not just all aggro. It's not like your other decks where it's like, I'm just going to rush the field as fast as I can, do all this stuff, and then, you know, count to 20, you're dead, right? So Raging Dynamo Rex, I'm going to keep tripping up on these, is interesting because it's a 4 cost reduction. So again, plays into that go wide strategy at 7 costs, but it does have Confront, which again is going to force your opponent to block. But then what's interesting is the level 3, when attacked, select one of your opponent's spirits with 4,000 fewer BP and destroy it. So you're still getting that BP-based destruction, which is what red loves to be doing. And then just to kind of jump ahead here too is into the Sacred Thundering Peak. So again, each deck family is kind of getting its own like key nexus, is the level 2, which does cost 3 cores, so it's pretty expensive. But when one of your spirits with Confront attacks first during your turn, it is refreshed. Like, this is pretty nuts. So if you have this like little combo on the field, and remember, everything has haste. There's no summoning sickness, so you can surprise your opponent with the Raging Dino, right? So you can actually play this, put him to level 3, put your Nexus to level 2, and that is a lot of cores. Don't get me wrong, like that right there is a lot of cores up front. But you can attack, destroy something with 4K, still force the Confront, so they're losing something else that's going to be, you know, versus a 9K, which is a lot of power, and then you get to refresh and do it again? Ooh. Maybe it's a control player in me, but like I saw this like right off the bat, and I'm over here, it's like, damn. I am not a red player by any means. I've never played red in a lot of card games, but if we're getting this more like mid-range value right out of it, then yeah, I'm all for it. I love seeing stuff like this where it's not just like Dilophosa, where it's just like go red, you know, do red things, turn stuff sideways, and you're dead, right? I love playing these more games with like heavy interaction with like beefy units that really make you think about how you're playing the game and kind of change a few things up. And then the other part we should probably mention here on the Thundering Peaks is when one of your spirits is destroyed, comparing BP with one of your opponent's spirits, select a spirit that costs less than this destroyed spirit from your trash and return it to your hand. So the game is also then at one side rewarding you for Confront, because if you trade evenly, like this 7 drop or this 7 cost has 5K at first. So like you're killing something at 5K, which is a good amount if you just want to trade it up, but then you're also getting something back. So it really does play into this like heavy board control theme. But again, based on the X rare that we've seen, probably plays very well into the go wide rush aggro side of things. But Raging Dino really does make me think that the last X rare we don't have is probably also going to be more of a mid-range strategy. And truthfully, it's, you know, you don't want to mess up your ratios because again, we saw how important Star Dragon and Terrasaur and Emperor Beast are, but this is just like a very solid red card in general, depending on where the rest of the removal-based stuff comes into play. And the cost reduction of 4 is really good. So I'm really curious to see where Raging Dino lands. Like, obviously, it's very strong in the Terrasaur deck. I think it's going to find a home there. But this is one of those cards where it's like, I think this could be splashed in other places because like both the Confront and the BP destruction flexibility are pretty good. But if you watched my last video, this does bring me up to the last point of, we raised the question, is Battle Spirits going to be a focus on, yes, you have to play vanilla spirits because it plays into the various themes of the decks, like Star Dragons and like Terrasaurs, and well, the answer is yes. So based on the spoilers that we got, based on now that we have all these specifically reveal type cards, you will be playing things like Rain Needle and Raptidon for the Terrasaurs as like your one drops. Put them on the board, go wide, get the cost reductions you need, and then I don't know which ones I'm like really excited about to play. I'll have to see, like, build some decks and see where the rest come in at. But the other three down here, the Penguin, Eagle, and Dragoon, those are probably going to see some counts of play because, again, you want to make sure that you're consistently hitting your reveal triggers to get some kind of value out of them. Or in the case of Star Dragon, like, you just need more Star Dragons on the field. So Rain Needle, like, getting to vomit the Rain Needles from your hand because they're one cost with a one cost reduction, so they're free, into playing that Nexus to just get a bunch of cards back and also have a lot of cost reduction is probably going to be pretty strong. But again, kind of have to wait and see where the rest comes in at. So this ran a little bit longer than I wanted to, just to talk through some of the spoilers at a high level. Again, I will be doing probably a set review at some point, like all the red cards, or maybe we break it up into like the various families. We're also going to do things like deck profiles in games once we actually get the chance to, again, build some decks. At the time of recording, like, this is literally a couple hours after I woke up trying to get this out there, sort of thing. So very excited to see where this all lands, but this is hopefully the start of something very good, and we can get other, gameplay videos up on the channel. So if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe for future Battle Spirits Saga content. Probably the only thing that I'll be focusing on over the next couple months. Like, yes, I'm still playing One Piece on the side, but in terms of content for the channel, it's go time. After 4 long months, we are finally here. I am so excited that we're getting official spoilers. We can proxy up decks, tabletop simulator, in-person play, all that good stuff. Lots of future content to look forward to. So with that, happy Friday, everybody. Happy holidays, because since that's right around the corner as well. And if you're in the Midwest, good luck dealing with this storm. I looked outside, and it's awful, so please be safe. Remember to stay hydrated, and we'll catch you on the next Battle Spirits Saga video. Cheers.